Welcome to the Doors Survive Guide. In this survival guide I'm gonna teach you how to survive the main entities of the hotel. So the first entity we have here is Rush. First step, know if the lights of the room you are flickers. If it does, hide in a closet until Rush sound stops. But don't stay for too long in the closet, or else an entity named Hide will attack you, and make you leave the closet. But what happens, if you don't hide in the closet? Well, you basically die. But don't worry, a helpful entity named Guiding Light will revive you, if you die to any entity. And now here is footage of how Rush works. Now with the entity named Ambush, he has the same mechanic as Rush, but he comes back 2, 3 or 4 times, so you gotta hide and leave every time he comes and leaves. If Ambush catches you, you die, but you can revive with the help of Guiding Light. And now here is a footage of how Ambush works. Now the next entity we have here is Screech. Screech likes to lurk in dark places, and will attack, if the player doesn't look at him. When he does his PSSST, it won't kill the player, but it will deal a lot of damage to the player, so make sure to look at him. And now here is footage of how Screech works. Now the next entity is Dread. Dread appears as a white and light blue bacteria-shaped entity that has a sponge-like texture. If the clock strikes midnight, takes 10 minutes or 7. If the player is wielding the alarm clock, Dread will begin chasing the players. In order to escape Dread, players either have to open the door to the next room or use the crucifix on Dread. If Dread catches up to a player, the player will be stunned and killed by Dread. And now here is footage of Dread. So now we have here a And now we have here, dupe. Dupe is an entity that will mimic a fake door, to confuse the player. If the player goes in the fake door, dupe will grab the player and damage him. But if you have a crucifix, you can crucify dupe. And now here is footage of how dupe works. Now the next entity we have here is Shelly. Shelly hides in the hotel windows, and if the player spots her, while lighting happens, she will go through the window, chasing the player, to damage him and steal an item from him. Here is footage of how Shelly works. Now the next entity we have here is Halt. Halt has his own room that the player has to walk until the next door, but Halt will keep the player turned back a bunch of times, until the player gets out of the Halt room, or if the player dies. Here is a footage of how Halt works. Now the next entity we have here is Seek. Seek is a boss in the hotel and the mines. He will chase the player until guiding lights blocks the door, or he kills the player. Now here is footage of how Seek works. Now the final entity we have here is Figure. Figure is the main boss of the hotel and a mini-boss on the mines. He is blind so he can see the player, but he can hear the player, so the player has to crouch, or else Figure will eat the player. Now here is a long footage of how Figure works. Now the next entity we have here is Eyes. Eyes is an entity that will appear in the hotel and mines. You can't look at him, or else he will damage you. Here is footage of how Eyes works. So the next entity is actually a joke one. The entity is Jeff the Killer. Jeff the Killer is a fictional character in the online horror fiction subgenre, known as creepypastas. He is depicted as a pale, noseless man with long, unkempt black hair framing his face, his eyes wide and dark, filled with an unsettling intensity. A menacing grin is carved into his face, stretching naturally from cheek to cheek, giving him a constant, twisted smile. His slender figure is often shown wielding a sharp, deadly knife, his posture hunched and predatory, always ready to strike. Jeff the Killer has a chance to spawn in any room that players enters, where he will then pathfind to other players and deal 75 damage one touch. At random times, Jeff will say go to sleep in a white text pop-up above his head in the old Roblox chat style. Jeff the Killer will kill the player with his knife. Here is footage of how Jeff the Killer works. And now we are going to show you 3 hidden entities that only spawn if you get glitch fragments. Now the next entity we have here is Jack. Jack takes the appearance of a black and white head with dark, hollow eyes and an unsettling smile, showing only its top teeth. Half of its face is obscured in darkness, while its neck fades out with a faint smoky effect. The in-game version has slightly less smoke effects, has a smaller mouth and less teeth are shown. Scrapped version Jack's teeth are a bit shorter, and its shadowed neck had a curve at the bottom. Behavior Jack can interfere with the player in various ways. A player cannot go inside a closet or locker when Jack is inside, as it doesn't allow them in before abruptly closing the doors. However, opening the hiding spot once more will likely show that Jack has disappeared, and a player will be able to hide as normal. If Jack appears on the other side of a door, it will distort the room and engulf it in a dark red color with black spots for a few seconds before returning to normal. Here is footage of how Jack works. Welcome to the Doors Floor to Survival Guide. In this survival guide, I'm gonna teach you how to survive the main entities of the mines. So the first entity we have here is Giggle. Giggles are immature/baby grumbles, and therefore have some semblance of a grumble. Giggles take on the appearance of a pinkish light gray creature with an oval head and 4 tentacles extending from it, each with 2 joints. Its face has a mouth with a top and bottom row of 6 white teeth and 2 primary pink eyes. 2 smaller pink eyes above each primary eye extend towards the edge of its head. If the dripped out modifier is active, Giggles will wear one of the 6 random pair of sunglasses which protect it from being blinded by flashlight, spotlight, shacklight or laser pointer. Behavior Giggles are attached to the ceiling of a room with their face fronting the floor, periodically giggling, which players can hear if they are nearby. If a player walks under or very close to a giggle in this position, the giggle will immediately detach itself from the ceiling and drop down onto the player's face, almost completely blocking their field of vision. Over a short period of time, the giggle will repeatedly bite the player, dealing 10 damage when falling on the player's face and 7 damage in every other bite, doing 3 bites if the player isn't helped by another player, maximum of 31 total damage, while the player performs an animation, attempting to dislodge the giggle. After this period, the giggle will be detached and thrown away from the player, leaving it lying on the ground, laughing and unable to be interacted with. After a few seconds, the giggle will fade away and despawn. A giggle's damage sequence can be interrupted by having another player interact with said giggle, which will cause it to dislodge and despawn. Giggles are unable to attack players when they are stunned. Players can temporarily stun a giggle by shining a flashlight, spotlight, laser pointer, or shacklight on it, but not a strap light. It can also be stunned by throwing a glow stick directly at it. When stunned, it will let out a cry or grunt and attempt to cover its eyes with its upper left tentacle. After several seconds, the giggle will return to its normal state and will be able to attack players again. Giggles can be crucified with a crucifix. It will be banished and award the not funny achievement. So here is footage of how Giggle works. The second entity is the Gloombots. Gloombots are a mix between a bat and a moth. They can have either a green, yellow, cyan, red, pink, white, blue and orange body, 6 small legs, and 2 big, body color dependent glowing eyes, a mouth with sharp teeth and 2 fangs on the edges, a moth-like body with 2 antennae with multiple smaller antennae coming out like a leaf of some sort and 4 wings. Behavior gloombats spotlight multiple types of gloombats. When a door is opened in the mines, there is a chance for gloombats to spawn in the room. They are usually in a group of 5 or more and fly around the mines. They hate lights, and will viciously swarm around them to try and disable or break them as soon as possible. As such, most rooms that they spawn in will be dark. If any player uses any type of light source, other than glow sticks and laser pointers, near them, they will attack the player until the light source is gone or the user dies. There are a few ways to get rid of the gloombats, such as waiting for a door to be illuminated by guiding light, since the blue light it emits usually makes them go away, or try to make them backtrack into a room with figure for it to eat them. Here is footage of how the gloombats works. So the next entity we have here is Lowy. Lowy appears to be a rat-like creature with the nose of a star-nosed mole. Behavior Lowy always resides in small tunnel-like holes found within the mines. Players can drop any item near it except for batteries, bandages, candy or holy hand grenades. Shortly after, it will come out of said hole, look at the player, grab the item and retreat. In return, he can give the player a random item that is from the same value or higher than the item the players gave. Lowy will not emerge from its hole again after dropping 2 or more items in total. Here is footage of how Lowy works. Now the final entity we have here is the Grumble. Grumbles are giant, beige-colored creatures, being larger, more matured versions of Giggle. They have 8 tentacles, a giant smiling mouth full of teeth, a tongue, small lips, 2 purplish pink eyes with several smaller eyes above and below them with the same color and 2 lines above the mouth, supposedly being a nose. Behavior Grumbles initially make their appearance in the nest, immediately following the end of the first seek chase. A total of 5 Grumbles, including the Queen Grumble, patrol the nest. Between the first and second/last chase in the nest, Grumbles cannot enter the main pathway surrounding the 2 terminal entrances or the building that contains the room's instructions and anchor A. If a player is in the line of sight of a Grumble, it will start chasing them, while laughing deeply. If its line of sight of a player is broken, it will stop chasing a player and continue to traverse the nest. If a Grumble touches a player, it will fling the player away from them, stunning a player briefly and dealing 50 damage. The tentacles of a Grumble are collidable, but have no hitbox, only its main body can deal damage. Grumbles cannot hear players walking or dropping items, but is attracted to certain light sources turning on or off. Fortunately, All grumbles follow a series of nodes which are like pathways coded by the game for the grumbles to walk to the next node prototype. When it spots a player, the path nodes don't go away but follows a specific node path. Using a flashlight, spotlight or shacklight can disorient a grumble to the aforementioned light sources. If a player is being chased by a grumble, they are able to shine a light source on its face to slow its movement speed, giving them more time to find a safe spot. If a player is in a safe spot, where they can be seen but not reached, such as the possible B-anchor spawn with the broken wall, the grumble that spots them will turn to face them, stare for a few seconds, before turning and going back onto patrol. Notes: grumble tentacles have no collision, so players can walk by them easily. Grumbles can damage players through thin objects, such as the shearable vines in the far left anchor B room. Grumbles can be banished by a crucifix as of the content update, however the Queen cannot. Grumbles path nodes, AI walking paths, by the entrance of each anchor room has now been nerfed prior to the content update. When God mode is enabled, grumbles will ignore players and won't chase after them. The same goes for the Queen grumble. Here is footage of how grumble works. Welcome to the Doors Subfloors Survival Guide. In this Subfloors Survival Guide, you will learn how to survive the main Subfloors entities. So the first subfloor we have here is the backdoors. The backdoor is a subfloor that can be accessed from a side door in the exterior of the lobby, or through the Create Elevator menu. As of March 30th, 2024, the backdoor is only able to be entered if players have previously obtained the Digger achievement from entering the rooms. And promoter, the poster used to promote the backdoor that could be seen in-game from March 15th, 24-March 30th, 24. The backdoor was initially released on March 15th. 2024 for the 2024 Roblox event, The Hunt, First Edition, where it awarded players the Hunt, First Edition achievement and a badge for the event. The trailer was uploaded to YouTube one day prior to the event. After the event concluded on March 30th, 2024, the subfloor remained in the game, although its entrance was changed, and also rewarded two different achievements, making the Hunt First Edition achievement unobtainable. So the first entity of the backdoors is Blitz. Blitz takes on the appearance of a distorted green face, similar to that of Rush. Its face turns pink and distorts further when rebounding, with wider eyes and smile, while still having a small green aura. When crucified, Blitz will repeatedly switch between its rushing form and its rebounding form. Here is footage of how Blitz works. So the next backdoors entity we have here is the Lookman. The Lookman takes on the appearance of a tall, shadowy humanoid silhouette similar to Shadow, but with glowing white eyes that turn purple when looked at. When crucified, the Lookman distorts, and its eyes become red and widen drastically, while also looking slightly upwards. Here is footage of how the Lookman works. Now the next entity we have here is Haste. Haste takes on the appearance of a red human skull with black, hollow eyes and a grainy skin texture. Its colors are similar to that of a spectrogram image. When crucified, Haste's mouth opens wider. Its body stretches and distorts during the process. face will only appear if the player runs out of time in the back doors and will chase really fast the player and will kill him. Here is footage of how haste works. So the second subfloor we have here is the rooms. The rooms is a subfloor accessed from within the hotel with different entities and layouts that can be explored during gameplay. It is based on the Roblox game Rooms by Nicorox5555. It is composed of 1000 office-like rooms, 1001 rooms including A000 with all entities in the rooms being slightly modified from the original rooms. So the first entity of the rooms is A60. A60 takes on the appearance of a distorted, scarlet face with a wide grin, entangled in a crimson, mist-like aura. One of its mouths is covered up to some degree, possibly by the mist or its own lip, and it has a far less visible mouth of sharp teeth hidden by its first mouth, as well as having two pairs of eyes, one pair being glaring red eyes and the secondary pair being small black dots. It emits a bright red light during its charge, accompanied by giant smiles surrounding it. When crucified, it turns into a whitish blue color and its white eyes disappear. Here is footage of how A60 works. Now the next entity we have here is A90. A90 appears as a pixelated, monochromatic face that is heavily distorted. Its eyes are fully black, and it appears to be looking slightly upwards. It is encompassed by red static when it appears on a player's screen. In its jump scare, it appears somewhat similar to Ambush, appearing more glitched and pixelated, along with its eye sockets and mouth expanding into giant gaping holes. The entity gains a red hue surrounding it, with the red static covering the majority of the left side of its face. While being crucified, A90's face heavily ripples and distorts. Its face also seems to be melting and there are tears coming out of its eyes implying that it is crying in pain. The red stop sign that appears before the attack contains an open unsplayed hand, indicating the mechanic of A90 briefly. A90 will only attack if the player doesn't stop moving when A90 shows the stop sign, then A90 will deal a lot of damage to the player. Here is footage of how A90 works. Now the next entity we have here is A120. A120 obtains the aspect of a crude, purely white drawing of a smile, with it accompanied by round, oval-shaped eyes. It is encircled by a multicolored, pixelated aura, as well as additional distortion to its uncanny appearance. It rapidly flickers, when it moves, blinking in and out of sight. When crucified, a 120's smile is simply flipped upside down, having a sad face. Here is footage of how a 120 works.